we are anonymous. No faces, no flags, no permission slips. Not a politician, not a pundit for hire, just a voice with a mask, a memory, and a habit of reading what powerful people desperately want buried. And today's story is exactly that. Trump loses it as redactions of himself uncovered. So here's what happened. The U.S. Department of Justice dumped more than 3 million pages of Jeffrey Epstein investigation material, photos, emails, messages, records, under a transparency law that's been forcing these releases out into daylight. And it wasn't a clean truth and reconciliation moment. It was messy. It was botched. Victims' private information got exposed in places it never should have been. The DOJ had to pull files back down, and reporters found redactions that looked like they were done with oven mitts. And then right in the middle of all that chaos, someone noticed something so absurd, so shameless it instantly became the headline, a photo in the Epstein-related materials, where Donald Trump's face appears to be blacked out. Not the victim's face. Not a minor's identifying details. Trump's face. Now let me paint this clearly, because the entire point of this scandal is how clumsy the cover-up looks. There's a photo floating around, part of the Epstein material, showing a man who is obviously Donald Trump, and the DOJ redaction is so sloppy that it doesn't protect anything. It just screams, "We tried to hide him." That's not transparency. That's stage makeup melting under hot lights. One of the most talked about examples comes from a text message exchange tied to Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein, where they're chatting about Jair Bolsonaro, Brazil's leader, attending an inauguration while wearing a colostomy bag. And attached to that exchange is a photo where, again, it's plainly Trump, yet his face is redacted in this ridiculous, obvious way. That's the kind of thing that doesn't calm suspicion, it multiplies it. And yes, before the spin machine revs up, being referenced in Epstein-related files does not automatically mean criminal wrongdoing. Even major outlets covering the releases keep repeating that point, because names appear in many contexts, some mundane, some serious, some disputed, some outright false claims sent to investigators. But here's the question that matters. If the photo doesn't depict wrongdoing, and if the DOJ says redactions are about protecting victims and sensitive details, why are we looking at a black box over Trump's face? That's not protection. That's politics. And we know this release is not the full story. The DOJ itself has described the disclosures as an ongoing process, and reporting has noted the government identified millions of pages as responsive, with additional material, videos, images still subject to legal constraints, and release logistics. So when you hear people saying, this is only partial, that's not a conspiracy theory. It's literally how the release is being handled. Now, the original narrative you're hearing in political commentary circles is that the DOJ released 3 million documents, but there are at least 3 million more. And that if those documents include multiple pages, each the whole thing could balloon into some gigantic number like 50 million pages. That's a rhetorical way to say, we don't know what's still behind the curtain. What we do know is the curtain is real, and every time they try to tug it closed, people notice. And here's where Trump's meltdown becomes the point, because despite his camp strutting around claiming vindication, Trump's name and orbit keep showing up across these releases and related document dumps. Different counts get thrown around online. Some wildly inflated but credible reporting shows thousands of Epstein file documents mention Trump, and the context varies from routine references to politically explosive correspondence. And it's not just Trump. People in his gravitational field show up too. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Howard Lutnick, names that keep popping up in coverage of who appears in the newly released materials and what kinds of communications exist. The point isn't to declare guilt by association. The point is to ask why a government that claims it's dumping records in the name of truth is simultaneously caught redacting the president's face like it's a spy thriller. And while Trump is busy freaking out over documents and photos and redactions, real-world consequences are hitting everyone else. Consumer confidence has cratered. The Conference Board Index fell sharply in January, and the Associated Press described it as the lowest level since 2014, with Americans worried about prices, jobs, and their financial futures. Now you'll hear some commentators say it's the worst economic record of any president since 1960 at this point. That's a dramatic claim. What the hard data in mainstream reporting actually supports is the confidence drop to a 12-year low, not a since 1960 metric. But the emotional truth is still brutal. People feel squeezed, and Trump's attention, it's not on you, it's on himself. And nothing captures that more than the growing stink of deal-making, especially involving the United Arab Emirates. Because while Americans are told to tighten belts, reporting has described a secretive investment deal tied to the Trump family's crypto venture, World Liberty Financial, where an Abu Dhabi royals network allegedly agreed to buy a 49% stake for $500 million, with large upfront payments routed toward Trump family entities and Steve Witkoff's interests. And what makes it look like a quid pro quo? Makes it look like the kind of swamp Trump claimed he'd drain is the timing, and the policy aftermath described in coverage, questions about whether access to sensitive U.S. technology, including advanced chips, got easier after that money moved. Even if you set aside the legal arguments and the fine print, just look at the optics. A president whose family business benefits from foreign-linked money, while national security concerns swirl. That's not America first. That's me first. And at the same time, Trump's obsession with monuments and branding keeps getting louder. He's been posting about a massive arch, a 250-foot arc to Trump, a giant vanity structure proposed for Washington, an arch big enough to scream, "Look at me," while the country stares at inflation, housing costs, and economic anxiety. Then there's the Kennedy Center, the cultural treasure, the memorial to President John F. Kennedy, and Trump has been ranting about it like it's his personal hotel lobby. He's been pushing the idea of renaming it, boasting about budgets, claiming the former leadership created a broken budget, throwing around lines about $100 million operating deficits and $26 million bottom line deficits, then bragging, "Under Donald Trump we have a balanced budget. I merely came in to save it." He even reposted a message dated January 26th with that self-congratulatory tone. And then this is the punchline. He announces he's shutting it down for 2 years, claiming it's to bring it to its maximum grandeur, like a man trying to renovate a legacy into a logo. Reality Check major reporting confirms Trump announced a 2 years closure starting July 4th, framed as a major renovation. And it comes after chaos, leadership shakeups, backlash, and a wave of artists and institutions pulling away from what they called a takeover and rebranding push. And here's the part the original commentary hammers, and I'm not going to soften it. The Kennedy Center is a non-profit, so when Trump or his mouthpieces talk like it's supposed to turn a profit, they're either ignorant or lying. The original commentary even throws out numbers. Revenue was $36 million. Expenses were $266 million. Net operating income, $40 million, which on its face doesn't even add up. But you know what does add up? Trump's lifelong pattern. Touch something, slap his name on it, and if it collapses, blame everyone else. They list the Trump graveyard, Trump steaks, Trump vodka, Trump board games, Trump University, Trump mattresses, Trump ice, Trump shuttle, Trump vitamins and urine test kits, the New Jersey Generals, Trump modeling, Trump mortgage, Trump fragrances, Trump magazine, Trump casinos, Trump entertainment. And now, in the critic's view, even the United States itself, it's harsh, it's mocking, and it's exactly the kind of ridicule Trump earns when he tries to call himself a genius while leaving wreckage behind. And Senator Andy Kim, quoted in this commentary, points to Trump's Atlantic City destruction as a warning. New Jersey knows his crash and burn property management, and we can't let him do to the Kennedy Center what he did to those casinos. That comparison stings because it's visual. It's not abstract, it's a pattern. While all of this is happening, look abroad. Trump's economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, goes on TV talking about reordering the world order, bragging that when the U.S. booms, the world booms, promising it'll be great for everybody. And the rebuttal in the commentary is savage. America looks weaker. Alliances look shakier, and other countries cut deals, while Trump threatens nonsense like Canada's going to lose ice hockey if it makes trade moves. The point they're making is that Trump's policies are destructive and malicious and idiotic, and that the U.S. gets cut out of major agreements while he plays strongman theater. Now swing back to the Epstein files, because this is where Trump's defenders try to smother the fire with a wet towel labeled hoax. Speaker Mike Johnson, the MAGA loyalist, is asked. Trump's name appears throughout these files. Any questions? And Johnson says no, because Trump told him privately the same things he says publicly. Johnson claims Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago after hearing nefarious things, and he frames the controversy as Democrats trying to weaponize it politically. And you know what? Trump has said versions of that distancing story over the years, and it's a reminder of how these debates get fought, not with full disclosure, but with selective anecdotes. Meanwhile, the documents keep coming out in waves, and the DOJ keeps tripping over its own redactions, and the world fallout isn't just American drama. In the UK, Peter Mandelson, former ambassador to the US, major Labour figure, resigned from Labour after new DOJ released material renewed scrutiny of his ties to Epstein, including financial references and embarrassing materials described in reporting. In Slovakia, Prime Minister Robert Fico accepted the resignation of a national security advisor after Epstein-related communications surfaced, even as he denied wrongdoing and framed contacts as diplomatic. Then there's the explosive international intrigue. The commentary says there are over 1,000 references to Vladimir Putin, and it quotes an email dated May 22, 2013, from Epstein to former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Putin asked Epstein to meet in St. Petersburg during an economic conference. Epstein says he declined and demanded real time and privacy if Putin wanted a meeting. Versions of that email text have been reported in various outlets discussing leaked or released correspondence, though the broader KGB honeytrap framing often comes from tabloids and less reliable sources, so treat the intelligence scheme claims as allegations, not proven fact. But here's what is undeniably real. The Epstein releases are shaking political structures, humiliating public figures, forcing resignations, and exposing how deep the web of influence went. Now let's talk about the propaganda face of it all, because this is where the cruelty hits home. You've got a Fox personality claiming words like compassion, empathy, inclusion, and love have been weaponized against us, especially women. And you're sitting there like, what universe are these people living in? A universe where accountability feels like oppression. And then you've got Todd Blanche, Trump's former criminal defense attorney, now the number 2 at DOJ, trying to tell the public that Trump's social media posts don't represent his priorities. Think about how insane that is. A president fires off posts demanding prosecution, calling people guilty as hell, and the DOJ leadership tries to argue, oh, that's not priorities, that's just truth. Meanwhile, they're pressuring prosecutors. Do the cases we want or leave. That's not the rule of law. That's loyalty enforcement. Then comes a gut-punch human story. George Stephanopoulos pressing Blanche about Liam Ramos, a 5-year-old allegedly taken by the Trump regime in Minneapolis lawyers, saying the family was following a legal asylum process. Blanche snaps back, that's not true, dodging specifics. And the exchange turns into a miniature of the entire Trump era. Power talking over people, bureaucracy swallowing a child's name, and officials arguing semantics while families suffer. And the commentary closes with politics, because Trump's panic isn't just about documents, it's about elections. A special election in Texas State Senate District 9 saw Democrat Taylor Remmett flip a seat. Trump won by 17 points, with reporting describing it as a stunner that triggered GOP anxiety, and even warnings from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The message, the midterms loom, and the MAGA coalition is sweating. So here's where I land as anonymous. With the mask on and the facts in hand, if your government is blacking out the president's face in Epstein-related records, that's not transparency. That's fear. If your DOJ is botching redaction so badly that victims get threatened and files get yanked, that's not competence. That's disgrace. And if your president is obsessed with vanity arches and branding cultural monuments, while foreign-linked money swirls around his family business, that's not leadership. That's a con in a suit. We are anonymous. We do not forgive, we do not forget, because the truth you let them redact today becomes the freedom they steal tomorrow. Expect us, and make sure they know you're watching.